mix it up a bit, I found a British couple who are living in Australia and who shared the 5 differences that they found between Australia and the UK. Do they get it right? Not entirely. But they're really eager to share. They're positive. This is a good thing.
Oh, here we are on beautiful Ravy Bang. We thought we'd do 5 differences for you, updated version.
5 differences between UK and Australia that we've found so far, and completely random, just for fun.
So, first difference is they do Christmas in July over here, 25th of July. Reason being it's maybe cooler than obviously December. December's boiling hot. The story is it was started by Irish tourists in the Blue Mountains of Australia, and they wanted to feel a bit Christmassy. So they started back in 1980, I think, and since then, local businesses and companies have kind of jumped on the old bandwagon, and it's getting a bit more popular. So that's one of the notice one of the differences that so far.
Yeah, it is a bit hot cooking Christmas dinner in December here, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's like almost 40 degrees. So there you go. One interesting difference for you.
Okay, so before I jump in and say how terribly inaccurate this is, do you think that the comment about it being invented by an Irish guy back in around 1980 is some kind of typical Australian larrikin coming up with a story that sounded funny that now people have run with and believe? Now let's address this. Seriously, Christmas in July. Not a lot of people do this, and this is not a replacement for Christmas celebration. Let's make that clear. Now, at least in southern states, we still cook hot food. We still have hot chook with stuffing and roasts, roast veggies, roast meats. And we still do that at Christmas time. I know one thing that's popular where I come from is the good old prawn cocktail to start the meal off. Seems like, tradition, prawn cocktail, roast dinner with lots of salady stuff as well, and then pav, pudding, whatever for dessert. But we all do this at Christmas time. The whole point of Christmas in July is just an excuse, really, for another party. Because that's what we do here in Australia. We find excuses for everything. Do many people do Christmas in July? Very, very few. Some businesses will promote it just to get in a crowd. It's a marketing strategy. And maybe some expats do it every year because it makes them feel a bit more like they're back home where it's cold. But for the most part, it doesn't really happen that much here in Australia at all. It's certainly not a replacement for Christmas, and it bugs me that someone would put a video on YouTube telling the world that, oh, Australia, they do Christmas in July. Because, well, technically, okay, some people do like to do a Christmas in July, but that is as an add on to Christmas in December.
So the second thing uh, is that in England, if you have a barbecue and you cook a sausage or a hot dog, as we call it, we put them in hot dog rolls. Here, everyone has sausage and bread, and not even 2 slices of bread, just one slice of bread with one sausage.
Finally.
It's really common here, and yeah, people have they call them sausage sizzles, but basically barbecues where they sell sausages. They do it a lot for fundraising. They do it outside Bunnings every weekend. Um, and now it feels really weird to buy hot dog
Yeah, why would you
rolls.
want to do that? You got to slice it and all that stuff. You just
Yeah,
get a whole loaf of bread and you can have as many sausage sizzles as you want.
yeah, much better value as well.
Okay, I did the really, really long sigh before I turned on the recording for this audio because you guys just don't need to hear that. It shouldn't be that confusing for people. Now, surely these people have seen places like Walker's where they sell hot dogs in a roll. It's not that hard to figure out. There's hot dogs and there's sausages. When we have a barbecue, we barbecue sausages. Hot dogs, you boil. They're those red things with heaps of processed meat in the middle. Big solid chunk of meat, different consistency from sausages. You whack them in a roll. Sausages, you cook them on the barbie, whack them in a piece of bread with onion and sauce. They're not the same thing. I don't understand why it is such a struggle for people from overseas to recognise that there's a difference. Do hot dogs look different overseas? Do hot dogs look like sausages overseas? Because now we've had a video that I did last week, I think it was, where people from the US were talking about how we call hot dogs sausages or snags. And now you have this couple from the UK saying, oh, you don't have hot dogs in rolls, you have them in bread and you call them sausages. They must have sausages in the UK, right? Surely they have sausages and hot dogs in the UK. Why can't they tell the difference?
Next up, we have got fishing. So obviously, with this wet stuff behind us, over here you don't really have to buy a license that I'm aware of. You just can go to like a local Kmart or whatever and whack a rod in the old shopping cart for about $20, get a bit of bait, find yourself some water, start fishing.
Yeah, fishing's obviously really popular here, but yeah, in England you have to have a license, you have to have permission, you have to pay. Here it seems a lot more easier, which makes it a lot more fun, and obviously the weather's great.
Yeah, I think maybe there's some limitations what fish you can actually take home, but yeah, it's a lot cheaper and better than England, obviously.
Okay, this needs clarification. No, you can't just go down to Kmart and get a rod and just go wherever and fish. Saltwater fishing, you don't need a license for. As in fishing at the beach or off a jetty at the beach, going out in the ocean and fishing, you don't need a license for that. There are, however, limits on catches in terms of not just size, but in terms of how many fish you are allowed to take. Then there's freshwater fishing on lakes. And correct me if I'm wrong, but to the best of my knowledge, I know this applies in Victoria and Tasmania, but I'm guessing that this is probably something that exists in most states. You need a license to go freshwater fishing. You can't just go fishing at a lake for trout or salmon or whatever without a license. And then, of course, there are still catch limits and size limits. But leave comments below on that. Let me know if I've got it correct. I'm trying to keep it fairly general. I don't want to go into too much detail, but that is the basics as I understand it.
You cannot buy alcohol here unless you're buying it from a like off license slash bottler. You can't just pick it up in the supermarket or in the petrol station.
Yeah, it's like when you go to Tesco's and stuff back in England, you get like the lot there, whereas here it's specific shops. I think you can buy non-alcoholic alcohol. If that makes
Yeah.
sense in Coles or Woolies, but yeah, I mean, yeah, you gotta go to like BWS, Liquorland, Liquor Legends. Yeah, there's loads, but yeah,
Yeah, in the UK, you can pretty much pick it up in any shop, in your corner shop, in a service station, in the supermarket.
drive-through
Anywhere.
bottler, always good. Not sure you can drink it while you're driving, but yeah,
We don't have drive-through bottlers in the UK
definitely.
though.
Okay, so we have the bottle shop essentially connected to the supermarkets here, so right next door, and from what I gather, owned by the supermarkets. My question is, how does Aldi get licensing to have their little corner where they have the alcove? Presumably, they have to have staff who are over 18, but then at the same time, if you go to NQR, which is like a discount supermarket here in Bendigo, it sells seconds, and quite often you can get really good groceries that are really, really cheap. You go to NQR, they've also got a section just by the checkout with alcohol. The only difference there is that they do have underage staff, and if you are buying alcohol there and one of the underage staff is on the checkout, then they have to swap out and one of the older staff members have to serve you. So, is it because there's been a change of laws which now allows Aldi and NQR to sell alcohol from inside the store? And it's just that Coles and Woolies are just like, well, we've got our bottle here on the side, we don't need to do that. So that's one question I have. The other question I have, are we the only country that has where you can't just go into the supermarket and go down an aisle and grab alcohol in the supermarket? Or, like these guys said, go to the servo and buy alcohol? Because it sounds like we know that the US, you can just go into a local supermarket and buy alcohol. It's in the same aisles as all the food and everything. And same in the UK. So that's really kind of interesting. And just on a side note, I noticed the other day when I was heading into Woolies, and I was walking past the BWS or whatever the chain is that's connected with Woolies, I glanced through the window and I realised that all the bottles of alcohol, all the spirits at least, had security tags on them, on the neck of the bottle. So that's something new. It says something about the rising cost of living, that you now have security tags on alcohol.
So our fifth and final one is,
And we're just filming outside of our
yeah,
mansion.
you know, don't hate on us with our nice house in the background. Um,
One day.
yeah, it's cats and dogs. I know you've got cats and dogs back in England, but
Yeah, so the rules here, which vary from England, are that if you own a cat, you have to keep it contained on your property. Your cat can't roam. And I think the main reason for that is due to all of the wildlife here that obviously is protected and they don't want cats attacking. And yeah, also I guess there's some pretty nasty things that can
well, it's probably stuck in like breeding as well in the wild, maybe.
they're pretty big on desexing here,
Yeah,
but
oh yeah.
yeah, maybe not like so your cat doesn't get bit or attacked as well. And then dogs have to be on their leash or on a lead, as we say in the UK.
Yes, yeah. You got specific beaches you can take them on, but yeah, I think a lot of places prefer your dog on the leash. So you've had a
Yeah.
few nuisances, stuff like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of main thing. Whereas in England, you just get cats everywhere, don't you? Really, you just go where you want.
Yeah, so it's weird when you see a cat here because we haven't seen one for ages.
Yeah, sorry about. I was just pointing, but there was as we were filming, there was a dolphin just popped up in the water. So we'll see if we can catch some footage in that in a minute.
So I'd be interested to know if anyone lives in an area that hasn't caught up with these restrictions on cats, because it's actually only since 1st of July here in Bendigo that the regulations came in place that cats must be contained 24/7, so they can be outdoors on your property, but they can't go off your property. And the expectation is that if they go outdoors on your property, that they are fully contained. So that's actually quite a new thing here in Bendigo. I think there used to be like a curfew, and that cats were expected to be not allowed to be outside at night. Now it's just the whole, they're meant to be indoors or contained on your property 24/7. So I am curious to know if there's any other councils in Australia that are a bit behind with that. We also have the leash laws in terms of we're not supposed to have our dogs out in public unless they're on a lead. There's a few dog parks in the area that are kind of ordinary. Nothing exciting, nothing that I'd take my dogs to. And for me, I find it a bit sad that there are so many restrictions now on where you can take your dogs, like without a lead. And I get that there is a risk of dogs being injured, etc., etc. But to me, I think you should still be able to, you know, walk around, take your dog for a walk around the block, for example, without having to worry about a lead. And it should be about having adequate control rather than punishing everybody for the twits that don't know how to train their dogs. That's just my observation, but I get why it's necessary.
There it is. I got him.
That's kind of cool to have a dolphin in the background at the end of the video. Now, I'm going to make an observation just from looking at the background in this video. It reminds me of a bit of a combination of Bateman's Bay and Port Macquarie. I think they said they were in Noosa, didn't they? But what a beautiful area. Definitely makes me want to hit the road again and, yeah, do another road trip. So, thanks for listening. If you're not subscribed to my channel, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and also leave a comment below on your thoughts on this video. Now, before I go, I'm just going to mention that I've now activated memberships for my channel. There's a few perks that come with memberships, a few extra members only videos, and I'll be doing regular members giveaways, but mainly it's just to support my channel. It's a way of helping me to keep funding this channel and just to show your support. There's 2 tiers to membership. I've made sure that they are as cheap as possible. If you're interested, go check them out. Anyway, thanks for listening. Stay tuned. There'll be another video coming soon.